In the heart of ancient Rome, a young Julius Caesar emerged, a man whose ambition would alter the course of history. Born into a patrician family, he was steeped in the traditions of the Republic. Yet, from an early age, he felt the constraints of a system that favored the few over the many. This tension would ignite a fire within him, propelling him toward greatness and conflict. As a military leader, Caesar's genius lay in his ability to inspire loyalty among his troops. He understood that a soldier's heart was as vital as his sword. With each campaign, he forged an unbreakable bond with his legions, leading them to victories that would expand Rome's borders and his own power. His ambition was not merely for conquest, it was a quest for personal legacy and influence. With each triumph, Caesar's reputation grew, but so did the fears of the Senate. They viewed him as a threat to the Republic, a man whose ambition could dismantle their carefully balanced power. Yet Caesar was not merely a conqueror, he was a master of political maneuvering, using his military successes to gain the support of the populace and undermine his rivals, forever changing the political landscape of Rome. In 49 BCE, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River, a bold act of defiance against the Senate's authority. This moment marked the point of no return, igniting a civil war that would pit loyalists against those who feared his growing power. His famous declaration, "The die is cast," encapsulated his resolve, signaling the end of the Republic as he sought to reshape Rome in his image. As the tides of war turned in his favor, Caesar's ambition reached its zenith. He declared himself dictator for life, a title that solidified his control, but also sowed the seeds of discontent among the Senate. In his quest for stability, he inadvertently threatened the very ideals of democracy that had defined Rome for centuries, leaving a legacy fraught with contradiction and conflict. Caesar's reforms, from land redistribution to the calendar's restructuring, showcased his vision for a new Rome. Yet these changes were met with resistance from those who feared the erosion of their power. His ambition, once seen as a path to greatness, began to appear as a threat to the Republic's core values, igniting a fierce debate about the future of governance in the ancient world. On the Ides of March in 44 BCE, the culmination of fear and ambition collided. Betrayed by those he once considered allies, Caesar's assassination marked a pivotal moment in history. The man whose ambition had sought to unify and strengthen Rome ultimately became the catalyst for its transformation from a republic to an empire, forever altering the course of Western civilization and leaving a legacy that would echo through the ages. Gaius Julius Caesar was born into a patrician family in 100 BCE, a time when Rome was a sprawling republic, yet his lineage offered little political power. His father, a praetor, passed away when Caesar was just 16, leaving him to navigate a world of intrigue and ambition without the guiding hand of authority. This early loss would shape his resolve, igniting a fire within him to rise above the constraints of his noble name. Raised in a city teeming with political machinations, young Caesar was a witness to the struggles of the Roman elite. The Senate, once a bastion of power, was increasingly marred by corruption and conflict. Surrounded by the ambitions of others, Caesar learned the art of persuasion and the importance of alliances. Each encounter honed his instincts, preparing him for the tumultuous path that lay ahead, one that would demand both cunning and charisma. In his early 20s, Caesar embarked on a military career, seeking to carve out a name for himself. His first taste of command came during a campaign in Asia Minor, where he displayed remarkable tactical acumen. This experience not only solidified his reputation as a leader, but also deepened his understanding of the loyalty and fear that governed the hearts of soldiers. Each victory was a stepping stone toward his greater ambitions, foreshadowing his future conquests. As he climbed the ranks, Caesar's political savvy became evident. He formed the first triumvirate with Pompey and Crassus, an alliance that would allow him to manipulate the political landscape of Rome. This coalition, born of mutual benefit, was a calculated move that showcased his ability to navigate the complexities of power. Yet, even as he gained influence, the seeds of rivalry and betrayal were sown, setting the stage for the inevitable clash that would reshape Rome. In 59 BCE, Caesar was elected consul, a position that granted him unprecedented authority. He leveraged this power to enact reforms that endeared him to the populace, including land redistribution for veterans and grain subsidies for the poor. These moves not only solidified his support among the masses, but also deepened the animosity of the Senate, who viewed him as a threat to their traditional power. The Republic was at a tipping point, and Caesar was at the center of it all. Caesar's ambition drove him to the frontiers of the Roman Empire, where he launched the Gallic Wars. Over the course of nearly a decade, he expanded Rome's territory and wealth, employing innovative tactics and an unyielding resolve. His campaigns were marked by both brutality and brilliance, and through his writings he crafted a narrative that would immortalize his exploits. Each battle won was not just a military victory. It was a step closer to his ultimate goal of absolute power. By the time he returned to Rome, Caesar was not merely a general, he was a phenomenon. His triumphs resonated throughout the Republic, inspiring both admiration and fear. The noble name that once held no power had transformed into a symbol of ambition and destiny. Yet, as he stood at the precipice of greatness, the question lingered: would he be the savior of the Republic or its greatest destroyer? The answer lay in the choices he would soon make. In the bustling streets of Rome, a young Julius Caesar navigated the complex web of politics and ambition. With a keen intellect and an insatiable hunger for power, he forged alliances and built a reputation that would soon echo through the halls of the Senate. His charisma attracted followers, while his strategic mind began to lay the groundwork for a military career that would take him far beyond the city's borders. As Caesar ventured into Gaul, he encountered a landscape ripe for conquest. The tribes, fierce and proud, were unaware that they were about to face a formidable opponent. With each campaign, Caesar demonstrated not only his military prowess, but also his ability to adapt and innovate. His use of the legion, a disciplined and flexible fighting force, would become a hallmark of Roman military strategy, reshaping the very nature of warfare. The Gallic Wars transformed Caesar from a politician into a legendary general. His campaigns were marked by audacity and brilliance, as he employed tactics that outmaneuvered and overwhelmed his enemies. The Siege of Alesia stands as a testament to his ingenuity. Encircled by foes, Caesar constructed fortifications that turned the tide of battle. This victory not only secured his reputation, but also solidified Rome's dominance over the region. With each conquest, Caesar's ambitions grew, intertwining his fate with that of the Republic. His writings, particularly the Commentari de Bello Gallico, chronicled his exploits and showcased his strategic genius. These accounts not only served to inform the Roman populace, but also crafted a narrative that elevated his status, presenting him as a hero in the eyes of the people, a master of both war and politics. However, the very success that propelled Caesar to greatness also sowed the seeds of discord. His accumulation of power and the loyalty of his legions threatened the traditional republican values of Rome. As he returned to the city, the Senate grew wary of his influence, fearing that the general who had conquered Gaul might now seek to conquer Rome itself, setting the stage for an inevitable clash between ambition and authority. Ultimately, Caesar's rise in politics and war redefined the trajectory of the Roman Republic. His legacy was not merely one of military conquest, but of a profound transformation in governance. As the Republic teetered on the brink of collapse, Caesar's actions would lead to a pivotal moment in history, where the line between a general and a dictator would blur, forever altering the landscape of power in ancient Rome. As Julius Caesar marched into Gaul, he brought with him not only an army, but a revolutionary approach to warfare. His legions, equipped with the gladius, a short sword designed for close combat, became an extension of his will. This weapon's effectiveness transformed infantry tactics, allowing soldiers to strike swiftly and decisively, reshaping the very nature of battle in a way that would resonate throughout history. The gladius was not merely a weapon, it was a symbol of Roman discipline and innovation. In the hands of Caesar's soldiers, it turned the tide against the fierce Gallic tribes. With each clash, the precision and lethality of the gladius carved a path through the heart of Gaul, demonstrating that Caesar's genius lay not just in strategy, but in equipping his men with tools of unparalleled effectiveness. As Caesar confronted the formidable chieftain Vercingetorix, the gladius became a harbinger of fate. In the decisive Battle of Alesia, the Roman legions, bolstered by their superior weaponry, encircled the Gallic forces. The gladius, wielded with skill and ferocity, played a critical role in breaking the siege, showcasing how one man's ambition could bend an entire nation to his will through the mastery of arms. The conquest of Gaul was not just a military campaign. It was a testament to the effectiveness of Roman engineering and tactics. The gladius, alongside the formation of the testudo, or tortoise formation, allowed Caesar's legions to advance relentlessly against overwhelming odds. This combination of weaponry and strategy solidified Caesar's reputation as a military genius, forever altering the landscape of warfare and the fate of the Roman Republic. In the aftermath of his campaigns, the legacy of the gladius endured far beyond the battlefield. As Rome expanded, this weapon became synonymous with Roman power and authority. It symbolized the might of a republic that had transformed into an empire, illustrating how Caesar's conquests not only secured territory, but also instilled a sense of identity and unity among the diverse peoples of Gaul and beyond. Ultimately, the gladius represented more than just a tool of war. It embodied Caesar's vision of a Rome that would dominate the known world. His conquests in Gaul laid the groundwork for future expansion, and the gladius became a lasting emblem of Roman military prowess. In every thrust and parry, it echoed the ambition of a general who reshaped the destiny of a republic, leaving an indelible mark on history. In January 49 BCE, Julius Caesar stood at the banks of the Rubicon River, a boundary that symbolized the limits of his military command. With his legions behind him, he faced a choice that would alter the course of history. The phrase "crossing the Rubicon" would soon echo through time, representing an irreversible decision. With a single command, he chose ambition over caution, igniting a civil war that would unravel the very fabric of the Roman Republic. As Caesar marched his army into Italy, he unleashed a torrent of conflict that pitted former allies against one another. The Senate, once a bastion of power, found itself scrambling to respond to a general who was no longer just a soldier but a formidable political force. His audacity challenged the status quo, and the ensuing chaos would lead to battles that reshaped allegiances, culminating in a struggle for the soul of Rome itself. The civil war that erupted was not merely a clash of arms, it was a battle of ideals. On one side stood Caesar, the champion of the people, promising reforms and stability. On the other, Pompey and the Senate, clinging to traditions that seemed increasingly obsolete. As the war raged, the lines between loyalty and treachery blurred, and the fate of the Republic hung precariously in the balance, teetering on the brink of dictatorship. The decisive confrontation at Pharsalus in 48 BCE marked a turning point. Caesar's smaller, more agile forces outmaneuvered Pompey's larger army, showcasing not just military genius but the power of strategic innovation. With a swift victory, Caesar solidified his dominance, yet the cost was steep. The republic he once revered was crumbling, and the very ideals he fought for were now overshadowed by the specter of absolute power and the rise of a new order. As Caesar returned to Rome, he was met with adulation and fear. The Senate, now a shadow of its former self, struggled to reconcile their authority with the reality of a man who had crossed the Rubicon. His appointment as dictator for life in 44 BCE signaled the end of the Republic's democratic ideals. The very act that had once promised reform now heralded an era of tyranny, forever altering the landscape of Roman governance and its legacy. Caesar's crossing of the Rubicon was more than a military maneuver. It was a declaration that ambition could reshape destiny. His life and death would inspire countless leaders and thinkers, igniting debates about power, governance, and the fragility of democracy. The echoes of his choices resonate through history, reminding us that the path of ambition often leads to unforeseen consequences, and that the crossing of a single river can indeed change the world. In the tumultuous landscape of Roman politics, alliances were as fragile as glass. Julius Caesar, a master of manipulation, forged bonds with powerful figures like Pompey, a celebrated general. Their initial camaraderie promised strength, but ambition would soon turn friendship into rivalry. setting the stage for a dramatic clash that would alter the fate of the Republic forever. Brutus, once a trusted ally and a protege of Caesar, found himself torn between loyalty and the ideals of the Republic. His mother, a lover of Caesar, had instilled in him a deep respect for the Senate. As tensions escalated, Brutus faced a harrowing choice: to defend the man who had elevated him, or to uphold the very principles that defined Roman governance. Amidst this political turmoil, Cleopatra emerged as a pivotal figure. The last pharaoh of Egypt, she captivated Caesar with her intellect and charm. Their alliance was not merely romantic, it was a strategic partnership that granted Caesar access to Egypt's wealth, further fueling his ambitions. Yet this bond would also sow seeds of distrust among his Roman allies, complicating his legacy. As Caesar's power grew, so did the animosity among his former allies. Pompey, feeling marginalized and threatened, rallied the Senate against him, igniting a civil war that would pit former friends against one another. The conflict would not only test their military prowess, but also challenge the very foundations of loyalty and betrayal in the heart of Rome. The fateful encounter at the Ides of March marked the culmination of this tragic saga. Brutus, torn by conflicting loyalties, stood among the conspirators, wielding a dagger aimed not just at Caesar's heart, but at the heart of a republic in crisis. As Caesar fell, so too did the ideals of democracy that he had sought to protect, leaving a power vacuum that would reshape the future of Rome. In the aftermath of Caesar's assassination, the world watched as the Republic crumbled under the weight of ambition and betrayal. Brutus, once a symbol of hope for a restored Senate, became a tragic figure, haunted by his choices. Cleopatra, left to navigate the chaos, would ultimately seek her own path, while Pompey's legacy would forever be intertwined with the rise of an empire born from the ashes of a shattered republic. On the morning of March 15, 44 BCE, the Senate convened under a shroud of tension. Julius Caesar, the man who had transformed Rome, walked through the marble halls unaware of the storm brewing within. The conspirators, driven by fear and jealousy, had sharpened their daggers, their resolve hardened by the belief that Caesar's ambition threatened the very fabric of the republic they sought to protect. As Caesar entered the Curia, the air thickened with anticipation. The senators, once allies, now stood as a collective force, united by a singular purpose. Each blade, a symbol of betrayal, glinted in the dim light. The steel was not just a weapon, it represented a desperate struggle between loyalty and ambition, the very essence of Roman politics on the brink of chaos. The fateful moment arrived as Caesar took his seat. A senator approached, feigning concern, but the glint of steel betrayed his intentions. With a swift motion, the first dagger plunged into Caesar's side, igniting a frenzy of violence. Each stab echoed like a thunderclap, reverberating through the walls of history, marking the end of an era and the fall of a man who dared to reshape the world. As the blood pooled on the Senate floor, the conspirators realized the weight of their actions. The assassination was not merely a murder, it was a declaration of war against tyranny. Yet, in their quest to save the Republic, they unleashed a power vacuum that would plunge Rome into chaos, leading to civil wars and the eventual rise of an empire that Caesar had sought to avoid. In the aftermath, the legacy of that steel would haunt Rome. The Ides of March became a cautionary tale, a reminder of how ambition could spiral into destruction. The very weapon used to end a life transformed into a symbol of the fragility of power, a stark reminder that the pursuit of greatness can lead to unforeseen consequences, forever altering the course of history. Caesar's assassination marked not just the death of a leader, but the death of the Roman Republic itself. The steel that pierced his flesh became a catalyst for change, igniting a series of events that would redefine governance and authority. As history unfolded, the echoes of that fateful day served as a testament to the complexities of ambition, reminding future generations of the delicate balance between power and responsibility. As the dust settled on the Forum, the echoes of betrayal lingered in the air. Julius Caesar's assassination marked a pivotal moment in history, signaling the end of the Roman Republic. His ambition, once a source of admiration, now became a catalyst for chaos. In the wake of his death, the ideals of republicanism crumbled, giving way to a power vacuum that would ultimately birth an empire, reshaping the very fabric of governance. In the aftermath, the streets of Rome became a battleground for loyalty and vengeance. Caesar's loyalists, led by Mark Antony and Octavian, rallied against the conspirators. The Senate, once a bastion of Republican ideals, found itself divided and weakened. As civil war erupted, the Republic's foundations shook, revealing the fragility of a system that had thrived for centuries. The ambition of one man had ignited a fire that would consume the old order. With each clash of swords, the vision of a united Rome began to shift. The triumph of Octavian at the Battle of Actium marked the definitive end of the Republic. As he returned to Rome, he took on the mantle of Augustus, the first emperor. The Senate, now a mere shadow of its former self, acquiesced to his rule, forever altering the political landscape. The Republic, once a beacon of democracy, had succumbed to the allure of autocratic power. Caesar's legacy was not merely one of conquest, but of transformation. His reforms in governance, military strategy, and public works laid the groundwork for the Pax Romana, an era of unprecedented peace and stability. The calendar was reformed, and infrastructure flourished, demonstrating that even in death, his influence persisted. The empire that rose from the ashes of the Republic bore the indelible mark of his genius, forever entwining his name with the fate of Rome. Yet the question of legacy remained complex. While Caesar's ambition paved the way for imperial glory, it also sowed the seeds of tyranny. The very ideals he once championed were overshadowed by the concentration of power in the hands of a single ruler. As generations passed, the lessons of his rise and fall echoed through history, reminding future leaders of the delicate balance between ambition and the principles of governance that once defined Rome. In the end, the phrase "a republic died, an empire was born" encapsulated the profound shift in Roman identity. Caesar's life and death became a cautionary tale, illustrating the perils of unchecked ambition. His story transcended time, inspiring countless leaders and thinkers. As the empire expanded, so too did the legacy of a man whose genius reshaped the world, leaving an indelible mark on the annals of history that would resonate for millennia.